Alright guys, welcome back to Urge. We're moving on in the subclass series today to the Chronurgy Wizard, which is a brand new subclass from the Explorer's Guide to Wildemount, which just came out. And if you're new to the channel or to the subclass series, what we're going to do is we're going to go through all of the abilities gained in the subclass, and then we're going to rate the RP value, combat value, and overall class synergy based on how these abilities improve mechanically on the base class. Without any further ado, we're just going to jump straight into this new subclass.
If you know your suffixes and prefixes in the English language, it's all based on time. This one is, and that's the extent of it. You get two abilities at level 2. The simple one of the two will knock it out first. Temporal awareness. You get to add your intelligence modifier to initiative rolls. You need to add your casting mod to your initiative rolls. That's really cool. It's simple, but I think it's very, very helpful. Anytime you can help yourself go earlier in the combat, to either set up something good, get some early damage out there, or make sure you get out of trouble is always good. It's never bad to go first. Go early on in initiative.
Especially when you're squishy.
Yes. The other thing you get is Chronal Shift. You can magically exert limited control over the flow of time around a creature. As a reaction, after you or a creature you can see within 30 feet of you makes an attack, roll, ability check, or a saving throw, you can force the creature to re-roll. Make this decision after you see whether the roll succeeds or fails. Yeah, the target must choose the result of the second roll. You guys ever heard of the lucky ability or lucky feat? Here it is. You can use this ability twice, and you regain any expended uses when you finish a long rest. It's 2 uses of luck.
Yeah, pretty much.
Per day for your level 2 ability. We're just getting started. Cool. At level 6, you get momentary stasis. As an action, you can magically force a large or smaller creature you can see within 60 feet. Make a Constitution saving throw against your spell save DC. Unless the saving throw is a success, the creature is encased in a field of magical energy until the end of your next turn, or until the creature takes any damage. While encased this way, the creature is incapacitated, has a speed of 0. So basically, you're putting them to sleep for a turn.
They're in stasis.
Yeah, they're putting them in stasis. Stasis bubble. You can use this feature 8 times equal to your intelligence modifier per long rest. So, up to 5 times a day eventually, probably rather quickly. You're a wizard after all. You just make somebody skip their turn, essentially.
Yeah. It's like a poor man's banishment or a poor man's hold person.
Pretty much. But yeah, they just... And with no spell slot usage, it just force a con save against your spell save. Mm-hmm. Good stuff.
Then at level 10, we have Arcane Abeyance. When you cast a spell using a spell slot of 4th level or lower, you can condense the spell's magic into a mote. The spell is frozen in time the moment of casting it and held within a gray bead for 1 hour. The bead is a tiny object with AC of 15 and 1 hit point. It is immune to poison and psychic damage. When the duration ends, or if the bead is destroyed, it vanishes in a flash of light and the spell is lost. But wait. You can give the bead to an ally, and a creature holding the bead can use its action to release the spell within, whereupon the bead disappears. The spell uses your spell attack bonus and save DC, and the spell treats the creature who released it as the caster for all other purposes. So like concentration, things like that would be based on the person who used it. Mm-hmm. Other than that, it's going to be using your spell attack and save DCs. Once you create a bead with this feature, you can't do so again until you finish a short or long rest. So at first thought, we're like, seems super situational. But you can do some really interesting things here, and we'll probably get into that a little bit more when we get into the rating section. 14. You can peer through possible futures and magically pull one of them into events around you, ensuring a particular outcome. When you or a creature you can see within 60 feet of you makes an attack roll, ability check, or saving throw, you can use your reaction to ignore the die roll and decide whether the number rolled is the minimum needed to succeed or one less than that number. Your choice. You might be thinking, isn't this just lucky? No, this is way better than lucky because
so much better.
You can instantly make it succeed or fail. But there is a cost.
Reset the brain a little bit there.
There is a cost to tampering with time magic.
Yep, that's what they tell you
When
anyway.
you use the feature, you gain 1 level of exhaustion. Only by finishing a long rest can you remove the level of exhaustion gained this way. So, if you are unfamiliar with exhaustion, basically, the first couple levels, not so bad.
Yep. Disadvantage on ability checks and then half movement speed.
Yeah, and then you start getting disadvantage on saving throws, and then you start, hit points reduced, and eventually, if you do too many uses, which on the 6th use, you just straight up die.
You die. Sure.
But that being said, you have the ability to decide if something succeeds or fails.
Yep.
This is huge.
Yes.
Definitely huge. We'll go into this a little bit more detail when we get to the rating section. But we'll hold on to that for just a thought.
Wowee, guys.
So, first up, we have the RP value. So, with the role-playing, again, a little disclaimer here, as always. When we look at the RP value, we're looking at how mechanically the subclass is going to improve on the base class. And we're looking also at how you're interacting with NPCs, interacting with the world, avoiding combat, non-combat scenarios, things like that, mechanically, from the abilities gained. And also, we're already factoring in that you're going to be role-playing your background, lore, history, class fantasy, acting out your spells and your combats, and all that stuff. We're already anticipating that to be done, so it's not factored into the rating section. The rating is purely from a mechanical standpoint of how these abilities are going to improve on your roleplay potential. So, that being said, having the ability to completely alter reality and make roles succeed or fail, or if you don't want to get the exhaustion, or you maybe already had some levels of exhaustion and you're kind of scared of just dying or having disadvantage on different things, then you can just use your regular Chronal shift and just basically use lucky feat ability, pretty much. But there's the potential here is ridiculous, because say you're in a negotiation with a king or something, and the DM's like, well, roll a persuasion check. And you're like, you know what? I'll just make sure that we get this. You know what I mean? Like those clutch moments where you're like, man, I really hope he rolls well on this. It's like, no, you are rolling well. You succeed automatically.
Roll a natural 3. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, because it specifies attack roll, ability check, or saving throw. So ability check, keyword there. When it comes to roleplay value, ability checks are where it's at.
Yep.
So having the ability to do that, and you're like, oh yeah, well, I'm tired. Whoop-de-doo! We just convinced this guy to join our side, or he's going to kill all of us. We just persuaded him or intimidated him to not do so. Huge. Major RP potential there.
Yep.
So with the RP side, we decided to give it a 4 out of 5. It could be more, but there are some pretty hefty consequences to doing this on a regular basis. And also, it's a little bit more on the combat side. There's some slight uses for the Arcane Abeyance where, like we mentioned too, for RP sense, you could maybe put invisibility or fly or something into a spell and give it to a rogue who's trying to sneak into something, and it's like to get out of jail card, or give him Dimension Door. Who knows? You give him some kind of spell to help him get out if something bad happens, or if he gets spotted or something. Or lots of scenarios here where you could use that 4th level or lower spell that you're giving to someone else, essentially, that could be used in RP sense. There's lots of spells that are going to fall into that lower level spell area. Definitely has some uses there.
On the combat side of things, with the fact, getting lucky twice a day, always going to be helpful. Giving you your chance to be up, early in the initiative roll seems like a little something, but just a flat buff to your initiative rolls besides what it already is. If you already have a +1, maybe +2 to your dex, eventually you're going to have like a +6, +7 possibly to your initiative roll, making sure you go pretty early. The chance just to freely stun a person, make somebody skip their turn with Constitution saving throws, you sacrifice your turn to make them skip theirs. Most of the time, if you're choosing to use that, that's a nice trade. Because usually, you're taking one person out of a combat.
Right. Action economy is huge.
Yep.
Eliminating one thing just for a turn can be big.
Giving somebody else a spell that maybe they wouldn't normally have one. You could put a fireball in there and let a barbarian just throw a fireball at somebody because he can't get to somebody that turn.
Right.
Let them be able to pocket some kind of a spell. Has its uses in combat, of course, and yes, as we hinted on earlier, Convergent Future, while it does have a hefty penalty if you use it more than twice a day, that was kind of the cutoff we had. The first 2 abilities, if you're a rogue, the first 2 levels of exhaustion, with disadvantage on ability checks in combat, you don't give a fart. Half movement speed, you're a wizard. If you're having to run from stuff, it's bad anyway, so it's not going to matter. So just being able to choose the threshold for successions and failures on attack rolls and saving throws during combat at will is silly.
Yeah, it's major.
Really, the only thing that keeps it, when we scored a 4.5 out of 5, and really the only thing that keeps this from being a 5 is all of your abilities are super limited number of use.
Right.
There's like your big capstone ability has no limit, but you're penalized for using it even the first time.
Right.
Like there is a penalty for using it. Your abeyance is once per rest, so even if you have multiple short rests in a day, you might get 3.
And it still uses the spell slot too. It's something to keep in mind.
Correct. Stasis is your most used ability technically. It's still maximum intelligence modifier, and Chronal Shift is just twice a day. Right. So you have a lot of really, really, really impactful abilities but you can't use them a ton of times. So you've got to be you make a huge impact when you do something with your subclass, but you're not doing it a ton of times. You've got to be smart, very wise when you use your abilities.
Yeah, and I think the last thing kind of just throwing there for the combat side is with the Convergent Future, the levels of exhaustion can only be regained you finish a long rest to remove a level of exhaustion.
Yeah, not all of them.
So if you use 3 or 4 in a day, you're kind of out of commission for a couple of days. I mean, yeah, you still have that, but you're going to be way more hesitant to use it the following subsequent days. You're going to be way more hesitant to use more than 1 or 2 levels.
Using it more than once a day, you have to really think about what else you're going to be involved in subsequent days.
Yeah. Now, I mean, it is kind of a get out of jail card if things are really going poorly and you just need you need a spell to land, or you need someone to not die at this turn.
Right.
You can kind of burn yourself out. I mean, on the 6th level of exhaustion when you die, so if you really had to get carried out of there or
you could sacrifice yourself if it really meant saving the rest of the party.
It's definitely a potential there.
Yeah, absolutely.
But combat, awesome.
Yeah.
Lastly, we have the overall class synergy. With the wizard base class, the big things are going to be your signature spells and the spells that you get to be able to cast first level, second level spell at will. Those are the biggest things, and of course you have like arcane recovery and stuff. Something that we didn't really touch on too much, and we're going to do an entirely different video to go over all the new spells that are included.
Yep.
There's the Dunamancy spells. They all deal with time magic or gravity magic for the most part.
Hence the 2 new subclasses.
And the thing that's specified in the books is that these spells are specific to the new subclasses only. The old wizards and stuff aren't supposed to get them. They're not included. So all the spells gained through this are going to be as part of the class. So I'm kind of factoring that in a little bit into the ratings for the combat and this as well. But with those, there's some really interesting things that can be done where you're giving, like Fortune's Favor is one of the spells where you can give basically a use of luck to someone. It does cost 100 gold to do so. I think it's a pearl, and a pearl worth 100 gold, and also takes a level 2 spell slot. You give someone basically a use of luck for a period of time.
Yep.
And the thing is, with this, is the big things are going to be, obviously, being a wizard, your job is to cast spells.
Yep.
And what feels really bad as a spellcaster is getting your spells denied or saved or you miss or whatever.
Either of the 3. That's the thing.
And again, this future ability that you have is going to completely change everything, because you cast an 8th level spell or 7th level spell or 9th level spell. You want that to hit. If that misses, that can be like a huge stab in the side.
Yep.
You can make sure it hits. That's major.
Especially with some of the spells that are in this book. Like I said, so
there's some
I'm
spells.
Begging you finish watching this video, watch the spell list video, because you will see me lose my mind probably 2 or 3 times.
We'll get that out as soon as possible.
Yeah.
But with this one, guys, this ability, this level 14 ability is huge.
It's probably the single most impactful ability in official 5e.
It's definitely in the short list for that.
Yeah.
So we had to go ahead and give the synergy a 4.5 out of 5, just because some of the spells that you do, lower level spells that you do gain through the subclass specifically, are actually pretty good for your innate spell casting. With this Convergent Future, just being able to like guarantee hits or succeeds or fails,
or fails where you need to, that is
huge. It can really make sure those big spells land, because that can be, those big higher level spells are like combat changing spells. So not really much more to be said about that. It's pretty strong, unique, different, cool subclass in our opinion.
Every positive adjective you can think of applies.
It's very interesting. Very, very interesting. I always like the time stuff is really cool. But the next one is actually really cool as well with Chronurgy. So make sure you check that one out. We'll get that posted as soon as we can.
Yes, we will.
But guys, that's going to be it for this one. If you enjoyed the video, please remember to like, subscribe, hit the bell notifications whenever new videos come out. Let us know in the comments down below what you think of the new book, if you've read it, what you think of this subclass, or if you have any stories from your D&D sessions. We always love to hear those. Let us know down below. And as always, guys, thanks for watching.